For me personally, I have learned, especially as a woman, to be very, and it's hard because I think women deal with a little bit more guilt than men might. I have learned to just not even second guess the things that work for me because I can't. Because if I go down a rabbit hole of it should do this or another culture does this or our culture, it's like what works for me as a mom who has businesses, who's all this stuff. I'm like, that's what it's going to be. And that's it.
And
but
that's
it's so easy to go insane with your head. It's so easy to go insane.
Especially in the like content era that we live in when you're constantly, if you're a mom, your entire Instagram feed is mommy gurus telling you like how you're supposed to be a mom and that you're like damaging your child permanently by doing X, Y, or Z. And you're giving them this food. Okay, well, they happen to like it and it's the only thing they would eat. So like, they need to eat something. They can't like, no, I can't give my kid grass-fed beef 8 times a day. Like just because that's the healthiest thing. I have to give them what they're going to eat. And like, I ate freaking Cheerios when I was a kid and I'm perfectly healthy and fine.
I have my main priorities, right? Like I will not let a diaper company shame me because they have a fucking chemical in their diaper and it's going to fuck my kid up, okay? My priority is emotional.
Are we recording this, by the way? Because this is good.
We're going.
Emotional stability and emotional health, right? Emotional intelligence and all of that is my priority. So childcare with quality people who can be with my daughter and be really present and loving is way more important to me. Quality food is then the second thing. And then if there is time, money, and resources for anything else, it can go there. But I'm like, those are my priorities. And the diapers are like down there for me. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's like you have, it's like the Mark Manson thing of like you only have so many fucks you can give.
Yes.
So you have to like choose the couple of fucks.
Yes.
And then like everything else is just below your line and you're like, I can't deal with it.
Yes.
I totally agree. That's just like, I mean, our fundamental thing has always been making sure that our son knows that he's loved and supported.
Yeah.
And if anything else goes to shit below that, but he knows that he's cared for and loved and supported, then like you as a kid know you can thrive if you know that you are loved and supported. I've talked about this in the context of my own relationship with my dad, that the thing that I felt like he did better than anyone in the world was that he combined really high expectations with really high support. And I think it's the two in tandem that's really powerful, because high expectations without high support is dangerous, because then you're like, oh, the person expects me to do X, Y, and Z and to achieve all these things, but there's no support to back it up. That's really hard on a kid. Yeah. But with the support, so you know, like they have high expectations for me, but they're also putting me on their shoulders and lifting me up to go and achieve those things. Yeah. It's such an amazing combination. And so like as I've thought about being a father, that's really been what I've tried to strive towards, is like, how can I pair those two things and make sure my son knows that.
It seems like people get too in the weeds of the like micro random like strategies, like just overarching. If you're supporting your child and because yes, it's a very imprintable age that they're at. So I get that you guys are.
Lily has a good life. That's no, like when
she's
fine.
But truly, like when I have really, really challenging moments where it's like I'm brought to my knees, I'm stressed, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not my best, I just cry with pride to know that even if this is happening to me and I feel this way in my life, whether it's business challenges or whatever I'm going through, I am giving my daughter a really good life. And at the end of the day, that is the only thing that really matters. Totally. All of the little stuff you can just kind of let go, you know?
Yeah.
Question about expectations. And then we'll get into the other things. I find I catch myself, and this is something that I'm really trying to adamantly, work on in parenthood, is that my husband and I will sit around and we'll be like, oh, maybe we should put her in gymnastics, or maybe she'd be great as a dancer, or maybe she should be an athlete. And it's expectations of who you want your child to be versus at the end of those conversations, I always end with, and Lily will tell us who she wants to be, but it's so hard to not envision a whole life for your kid and know that they're not going to live any fucking part of that, most likely, right? They're going to do their own thing. That is so hard.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's funny. So my background, I'm half Indian. So my mom is like born and raised in India, immigrated to the US for college. My dad is white, Jewish from the Bronx. And
what? Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
We didn't know you're Jewish.
Oh yeah, part of the tribe.
We didn't know this part of your brand.
Yeah.
Wow. The interview's going in a different area.
And my dad, my dad's from a Ukrainian Jewish family, like Ashkenazi Jews. Yeah. So the funny like juxtaposition of the two cultures has been really prominent in the whole expectations thing, because Indian culture, it's like super tough, wanting you to be a doctor or a lawyer or McKinsey consultant or whatever. Like the expectations are very like cultural and social driven, where it's like you need to have an impressive sounding thing so that like the rest of the village like thinks you're impressive. And
wait, that didn't happen on the Jewish side for you?
not as much. I mean, like my dad, so the longer story with my dad and our relationship and how he's been as a father is when he wanted to marry my mom, his family didn't accept it. And he had a rather abusive father emotionally more than physically, who basically told him he had to choose between my mom and them. And he walked out the door and never saw them again. So I never met either my dad's parents. My dad has 4 siblings I've never met. Wow. And as a result, that made my dad, I think, flip a switch to just being like ultra supportive mode. Whatever my sister and I wanted to do, he was going to be there cheering us on in the front row. To this day, and Matt, who's here, can attest, I went to India and did a bunch of live events recently, and my dad was literally sitting in the front row at all these events with a notebook, taking notes on my like talks that I was giving, and then giving me feedback later on like, oh, the way you said this was great. You could have hit this a little harder. Like that was the level of support I always felt from him. My mom has always had super high expectations, but it took her longer to come around to the idea that like both my sister and I were going to be our own person and that we weren't going to be the doctor. Neither one of us is a doctor. We didn't have interest in that. And she was unbelievably loving and supportive throughout, but like the hardwired, ingrained wanting your kid to be a Rhodes Scholar because you know they're capable of that was harder for her to crack, I would say.
That's interesting. That's interesting. We grew up, our culture, we grew up in a very isolated, not isolated, but very strong Jewish community. Mm-hmm. And I feel as if me more so than Mads had to crack through that expectation.
Older sibling.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, but I was just a little more non-traditional than Mads was.
Yeah. Okay, wait, you said that you have a story about your sister.
Wait, before we get into this, can we just like acknowledge that there's a man
in the
room?
Podcast. Sahil, you're the first male guest on
the nerves that we have been feeling. One, we're a huge fan of yours. Your name has come up on this podcast so many times over the last 2 years. We're like almost at 400 episodes, and we had our partners on once, but we haven't interviewed a man before, so I think we're doing a good job so far.
Yeah, it'll be a different energy.
Yeah, I mean, when I got the message from you guys and you said that, I was like, I'm really honored, but honestly terrified at the same time. I'm like, I don't know if I'm coming on and it's like it's going to be a bloodbath. Like I don't know what to expect here. So no, but seriously, I'm really excited. This is awesome.
Yeah. The reason we have only interviewed women is because, I don't know, from our perspective, we are champions of women. We bring them up and we want to give women platforms to speak. And I've always struggled with like male...
I was gonna say, I think it's a little more deep rooted for me.
Male like content on the internet, if that makes sense.
Say more.
Oh yes, let's go.
Yeah, I haven't felt like it speaks to me because it feels hyper masculine. It feels extremely devoid of emotion, or I don't know. There is this like disconnect or like this broiness that I feel a lot from like male creators. Except for you. And then I found you.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
And someone else.
And Ed Milet. And we love Jay Shetty. So we obviously there are men that speak to us. But I don't know. I don't even know how I discovered you. But a lot of, the productivity hacker type of content, it felt just like people screaming at me and telling me like what I'm doing wrong. And with you approach it with this like, I wouldn't say spirituality, but there is a level of that where it's logical and it's very tactical, but it's inspiring and empowering at the same time. I also
feel like the way your brain works, specifically why she resonated with your work. Also, in the time that she found your work, we were in a personal development exploration, and I had my own people I listened to, and she found your work, and I feel like your brain and the way you communicate is very similar to your fiance's.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel like that's
where
true.
It's like logical, but it's still empathetic.
Yeah, I the way I always think about it, which is how I would phrase, I think what you're saying is, I think most of like male content creation is about, hey, I know all the answers,
yes,
and I'm gonna just like tell you all the answers. And hey, by the way, buy my course where I teach you this for $500 a month.
Totally.
And A, I don't have a course to sell you, so there's nothing for me to actually sell on the back end. But B, my whole thing from the get-go has been, I don't have any of the answers. I'm 33 years old. I haven't lived 90 years of wisdom. I haven't done 8 million different things. What I have done is thought really deeply every single day about the right questions to ask. And as I think about my own content, what I'm trying to get across is like, I can't give you the answers, but what I can give you is the questions you should be asking so that you can come to the better answers for your life and the things that are going to fit and help you, and share the ideas that I'm wrestling with on an ongoing basis that can hopefully help you come to your own solutions. And I think that's what has resonated with people over the last few years that I've been doing this, is just like, I'm trying not to scream at anyone telling them the right way to parent or the right way to do this or that. I can tell you what is working for me and what isn't, and what sucks and what's challenging. But no one really has there's no one size fits all for any of this stuff or any of these things we're talking about. And they're all like, there's no real answer. Life is a struggle. Life is really hard. And you're just trying to get like 1% better at doing it every single day. And so I'm glad that comes across and that you felt that. And it's really, it's been core to how I've thought about it all along the way.